Okay, so this first video is going to show you how to start putting your mug together. So the first thing you'll need to do is roll out your slab. Okay, so I've already done that here. So then you need to make sure that you get a stencil from me. Now, before we start doing anything with it, we need to make sure that this stencil, the piece of clay, is big enough and wide enough for this stencil. So right now, even though it looks like it's pretty close on my edges here, it's pretty good, okay? Now, if your clay piece happens to not be the right size, here's a couple of things that you can do. So here I have my clay tools, and in here I'm going to use this, looks like a needle tool, okay? I'm going to use this to trim this off a little bit, okay? So what often is going to happen is your clay piece will be long enough, it just might not be wide enough. So in that case, what you would do, and mine is wide enough, so I don't have to worry about that. But, so here, like this is extra, I don't need that. So what I would do is I would take this, and if I just need it to be a little bit longer, I'm gonna take this piece and I would just attach it to the area that I need it to be. So I would go here and I'm gonna smooth it out with my finger. Flip it over and do that to the other side. And then you could put that back through the slab roller and then you could roll it out again, okay? I don't need that area, so I'm gonna take that off for now, but that is a way that you can make it wider. So you will see, before I can cut anything out, there's this texture on here. So we need to take our smooth rib, okay? This is the serrated rib. You see it has edges. This is a smooth one. Yours might be plastic, maybe it's blue or black, and that also works too. What you are going to do is you are going to smooth out all of these little bumps, okay? So notice I'm kind of cupping it a little bit. A little clay might come off, and that's okay. Okay. So smooth that out. You do not want to be pressing so hard that it's creating lines and texture in it though, okay? So we're just smoothing that out. And I'm not pressing down to change the shape of it. All right, so then you can flip that over, smooth it out to the other side. Just to this side will be a little bit smoother, but you can still see that there's some bumpy areas there, and it's just good to kind of get some of those areas out. So that's an example of where I was pushing too hard. Okay, so once you have the front and the back smoothed out, we are ready to use our stencil to cut it out. And if you don't have the stencil, you just need to come ask me and I'll give it to you. Okay, so I'm going to take this and I'm going to line it up. And how I'm going to do this, I'm going to take my tool, and before I just dig into it, I'm just lightly going to trace around it to make sure that that's exactly where I want it to go and that I don't make a mistake. Okay, so I'm just lightly going on top, around. So then once I've just lightly traced around, and I didn't make any mistakes. If you did make a mistake, the reason why we didn't carve all the way through right away is that you could just take your finger or take that smooth rib and just smooth that out quick, okay? Oops, or you'll do something like that. Okay, so now I'm gonna take this and I'm gonna go all the way through. And I'm just gonna collect this pile of extra clay off to the side. All right, so I take these little pieces and all of this little extra clay, okay? You might want to save a big piece for now because we might use that later. But all of this extra clay, you need to ball it up so that it keeps its moisture, okay? Okay, so then after anytime that you're working with clay, we do not just want to keep it sitting out because it's going to dry out. Instead, you are each going to get a Ziploc bag, and this is where you're going to put your clay. You will store this bag of clay at the end of class in your bin, okay? It is also your responsibility to keep this piece of clay moist, okay? So what you are going to do is sometimes you might need to take a spray bottle of water and spritz inside of here to make sure that this clay stays wet, because I'm not going to be giving you any new clay until this is all gone. And if it's too dry, that means that we're not properly caring for it. Okay, so anytime we have little pieces, just stick it in there. All right, so now we are ready to move on to the next step. Now, after I have carved this out, traced this out, I'm gonna pick this up, and I don't wanna smooth anything else out because it's gonna change the shape of it. So now you need your aluminum can with the paper towel around it, okay? So what we are going to do is we're going to wrap this around our can. So notice I'm keeping it on the table here, and you might find a different way to do that, and that's okay. If you want to like roll it, you can do that too. Okay. So here is my can. It is wrapped around. Okay. Now what I'm going to do is I have to attach this. Okay. So remember, we have to attach our clay in a specific way. And that process is called slipping and scoring. So I'm quickly going to show that to you. So if I want to attach these two pieces of clay together, if I go like this and I stick it together, it is just going to peel right apart. So we have to do something that is called scoring. To do this, you're going to want to use your serrated rib, and you're going to create marks, lines going in different directions on both pieces. Then you are going to take your slip cup, and if it's a little bit watery, you might just have to stir it around. But remember, slip is watered down clay. So I'm going to put on a little bit here, and then I will press that together. Now when I press that together, it creates kind of a glue, and it's not going to come apart as easy as it did before. Okay, so that is what we're going to do here to our mugs. Now mine was a little bit short, so I'm just going to stretch it a tiny bit, but we should be good to go there. All right, there we go. So to attach, what I'm going to do is I'm going to score with my serrated rib. Okay, and then I got to figure out where it's going to connect. So I also got to score here then. Okay, then I'm going to take my finger with a little bit more slip. And notice I am not rubbing it. I'm blotting it on. I don't want to rub it because then it's going to get rid of all of those lines. Okay, so then I wrap this, and I'm going to lightly start moving my thumb to get rid of the seam to press it together. Smooth it together. Okay, now all right, so I pretty much have that attached here, but you can see that maybe this area isn't entirely smooth. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to take that serrated rib, and I'm going to get rid of that bumpy area by actually roughening up the edge first. I know this seems confusing, but I promise you it'll make sense. So then take the opposite side that's smooth, or take that smooth rib and just go ahead and smooth it out. This is a really great way to smooth any of that, any bumps out. And you can do that all over your mug, okay? So then we want to make sure that this can doesn't come out, but it can move, okay? If it can't move, that means that we're going to have some problems later on, okay? So once we have this part done, we can go ahead and add the bottom. So to add the bottom, you could go back and use the slab roller, or if you have a little extra clay left, you can go ahead and add that there, okay? So mine isn't big enough, so I'm not going to use a slab roller. I'm just going to ball this up, and I'm just going to roll a ball, smash a little pancake, And then I'm going to use this tool as like a mini rolling pin, just so I don't have to walk back to the slab roller. But like I said, you could totally go back and use a slab roller, and that's fine. So this piece of clay we do not need very much of. So I'm going to finish kind of just going like that. Okay, so to add the base there, you can make sure that everything's smoothed out for that bottom piece. And I am kind of adding a little pressure here because I do want this piece to be a little bit thinner. Okay, so then to add the base, what you're going to do, and you'll notice that every once in a while, I pick things up off of my working area because I don't want it to get stuck. Okay, so then what I'm going to do is I'm going to place this on here. Now, this is not the perfect shape for this right now, and I don't want it to be. But I want to place this down here, and then what you're going to do is take your tool. You are not cutting anything. You're just lightly tracing around so we know where to slip and score. Okay? So then I'm going to take that off, and so I can see that I need to kind of slip in this circle. So I'm going to take my serrated rib, and I'm going to score along this line. Nobody's going to see this part, so it doesn't matter what it looks like. Okay? I'm going to take my slip, blot it on there. And then I'm going to just lightly press around the edges, okay? So I'm not smashing it down. I'm just kind of pressing on the sides of where that's going to be. If you want to, you can also, so I don't want to push it all the way through because then the can's going to go through. So just go around the edges. Okay, so once you've attached that on, what we can do is you're gonna take this and then you can trace fully around. Oops. Okay, so then we have this nice bottom here. You might have to take your smooth rib and smooth some of that out a little bit. Get rid of some of those little chunky little pieces. That's fine, okay? But do your best to smooth all of that out. This is probably a pretty good stopping point unless you have lots of extra time left. Take that extra clay, make sure to put it in your bag, okay? And then, like I said, you'll want to just take different clay tools, make sure everything is smoothed out and looks really, really good before we move on to the next step that will be in your next video.